Donald Trump looked a reporter in the eye on Monday and said this.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now.
First of all, Cuba is weakened because of Trump. I mean, let's be real about that. But also, listening to Trump is like listening to your Uncle Larry after he got into the hard stuff and started reminiscing about his past loves from 50 years ago. But jokes aside, Cuba, they have no power right now. A nationwide blackout. Their entire grid went down on Monday because the Trump administration cut off their oil supply, seized Venezuelan tankers that supply Cuba, threatened tariffs on any country that sells oil to Cuba. And now Trump's out here saying Cuba is weakened, like he wasn't the one responsible for it. And look, this isn't some ancient grudge story where Cuba was already on its last legs. The United Nations has called this a serious violation of international law. What we've done to Cuba in the last 3 months is functionally the first effective blockade since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And the man who imposed it, that begs for a Nobel Peace Prize all the time, is now saying he'll have the honor of taking the very country he's in the middle of strangling. And by the way, I'm not here to defend the Cuban regime. They're awful. The Communist Party leadership down there, they have been terrible to its people for decades. And if that government falls, the people of Cuba deserve something genuinely better. Instead, they're going to get stuck with Trump and Jared Kushner showing up with blueprints for a Trump hotel and a golden casino because you know exactly that that's where this is headed. And that's where one of the people that I admire the most comes in. I heard a great quote from Dan Le Batard. And if you don't know Dan, he's one of the most prominent sports media personalities in America. He was a longtime ESPN host that started his own network when ESPN told him that he needed to be less political. He's the son of Cuban exiles, born and raised in Miami. He, his family, and his community have lived this Cuba story for generations.
The idea that Cuba is going to fall soon. I imagine people in Miami will be celebrating this the way that Venezuelans were celebrating in the street. Anything that gets that regime out is going to be something that's going to be celebrated by Miami. I, like Jeremy, though, wish it weren't this orange, corrupt, felonious tool doing it, because he's just going to put hotels up there, and it's not because he actually cares about the people or democracy.
Yes. A Miami Cuban exile and the entire community around him. They've dreamed of a free Cuba for 60 plus years. And yet the person delivering it is a man so disgusting and so vile that they're not even sure if they want that. His primary interest in any country is whether or not there's beachfront property that he can throw his name on. And yes, Cuba has some of the most beautiful coastline in the Caribbean. And Trump has been talking about Cuban resort development for 30 years. Heck, he actually admitted to doing business in Cuba in the 90s in violation of the embargo. He paid a fine for it and then kept moving on. The liberation of Cuba under Trump is going to look a lot like the liberation of your wallet when you buy a timeshare. And this is not a news story. We've seen it in Gaza. We've seen it in Venezuela, where Trump's first quote about Venezuela was about how good things are happening to Venezuela lately and whether they wanted to be the 51st state. He literally posted statehood, #51 anyone, about a country where he just staged a coup. And now he's on to Cuba. I mean, this man is collecting countries like infinity stones. And the only thing that'll actually happen when he snaps his fingers is that he gets to play resort developer. He is inevitable. And by the way, in all this Cuba drama, somebody needs to check on Lindsey Graham. I mean, he's out there opening the good wine, putting on the Barry White, and is likely obscenely turned on about bombing yet another country. I mean, here's some of his greatest hits from the last 3 months about Cuba, because this man has been absolutely thirsting about this since at least January. I mean, look at this video.
You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered.
And then in March, he has his own merch.
I'm in Miami. You see this hat? Free Cuba. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
The liberation of Cuba is upon us. Iran is going down and Cuba is next.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham wearing a free Cuba hat and giving speeches about Iran going down and Cuba being next up. And he's got all of the energy of a man who just found out that trips to the buffet are unlimited. And of course, to know why Lindsey is so breathless for bombs, all you have to do is follow the money. Open secrets. They show his biggest donors. And those biggest donors include defense contractors and financial interest firms that have historically benefited from regime change operations. I mean, his 2015 PAC was literally bankrolled by defense industry money. Yes, his excitement for war is fully funded. And I almost forgot the dumbest thing of this entire story. It's the dumbest thing that Trump said, and I know that is a really, really high bar to reach. He said that Cuba is, quote, not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change, you know? They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. I mean, seriously, he said this. Look at it with your own eyes.
I think Cuba, I don't know, in its own way, for tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change, you know. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week.
I mean, where exactly does Donald Trump think Cuba is? I mean, Cuba has experienced the effects of at least 37 hurricanes or tropical or subtropical storms since 2000, including 9 major hurricanes. And this is the man who says maybe we shouldn't even be in the Iranian war that he started. And he doesn't even know basic geography about the island that he's fantasizing about taking. That's fantastic. And yeah, meanwhile, we can't afford rent, can't afford healthcare, gas is $4, groceries are a financial event. And the foreign policy of your country right now involves bombing Iran, occupying Venezuela, and taking Cuba so that the Trump crime family can develop more coastline.
They called it closed, filed away, forgotten. But some truths don't stay buried. Time doesn't erase guilt. A reckoning is always just around the corner. A death in Arcadia. Justice has a long memory.